Good morning and welcome to my little world. So this week I continue to work on the exterior of my theater, and I worked on the doors and the parts to the entrance. And so next week we're going to have the grand opening of the theater. There are a few more things for me to work on, and then it will be time for the grand opening of the Grand Theater. So looking forward to that. Also, in case you didn't know, I've been posting some fairy tales and little stories on Thursdays on my channel, and I'll be posting one this Thursday, which is the continuation of a story that I started last week. But I think from here on out, I'm going to start alternating the fairy tales and the work on my miniatures on Mondays, because it's feeling a little difficult to keep up with the pace of doing 2 videos a week. So I think I'm going to bring it down to 1 a week and kind of alternate, because some of my miniature projects are slowing down a little bit and I have a lot of stories to share. So I think that will be a good pace for me. So I hope you'll look forward to that. And thank you for coming today. Shout out to Yumika and Tora-chan. Gonna be coming to the US pretty soon. So let's go see what I've been doing this week. Here's the roof the way you saw it last, but I didn't like how the roof was looking, so I have taken it apart. It's always interesting to take your own things apart and see how well they hold together or how easy they are to take apart. This was fairly easy to take apart, but I had to cut through the glue and I removed the tape. And because I didn't like how it was sticking out over this overhang. Originally in my mind, I saw the roof as just going to the end of the box and not going over that. But then when I was making it, I somehow thought I needed to kind of center it over the whole thing. But now I've decided that it looks better if I just have this part up on top of the main box, so that when the front is closed, it's just right above that part. I think it's more balanced that way. So now I have to redo the sides again. Also, the foam board is curving because of the paint that I put on it. So I have to figure out how to deal with that. I had the end of a brown paint container that just had a little bit of brown paint left in it, not enough really to use. So I added some water to it and made a brown wash, and I thought that's a good way to use up the end of a paint bottle. So I'm using that wash, and it's very watered down, on the paint job here. And you can see on the left is where I've used the wash, and on the right I haven't used it yet. So you can see the difference it makes and how it helps those shapes that I put on to stand out. So I'll keep going with that. Here are some close-ups. And here is the side part after the wash. I think it's looking like a building. I didn't bother to fill in inside these frames down below because they're going to have pictures in them anyway. I was remembering that game today, Go Fish, where you ask for something and then you get it or you don't get it. And whenever you get what you want, you say, I got what I want. And we as humans love getting what we want. And today I got what I want. Today I went to Hobby Lobby and I needed some supplies. So I got some more of the almondine paint, which of course I expected them to have. But I also got this beige colored tape, which will go with my building. And I didn't know if they would have that. So I was happy to get that. And then they also have these boxes and they were on sale. And this box is going to work perfectly to fill in the gap between the columns and the building here. So you'll see what I'm going to do with that. I used the tape to cover up all the seams on the roof. And then even though this roof is higher than the one I had previously, turned out I didn't really need the supports underneath it. So they're in there, but they're not doing anything. They're just in there because I don't know where else to put them. But the angel seems to be supported quite well by the roof now that it's all taped together. It seems quite sturdy. And the tape is holding it nicely. And now I won't have to worry about lifting up the front part when I'm opening and closing the doors, because that was an issue with the roof that I had that was bigger and square, was that I was going to have to leave it unattached so that I could move it whenever I wanted to lift this up and open the doors. But I think it looks much better this way, and it just works this way, and I like how the roof looks in relation to the rest of the building. I also put the tape along the edges of the building in the overhang to cover up the cardboard edges. And down the center of the building, where it closes and comes together, I think it looks so nice having the edges finished like that. I cut these boxes in half, well, almost in half. That would have been perfect if I had just needed to cut them in half, but I actually had to cut a 1/2 inch out between the two of them. But I think they're really pretty, and I would like to leave the rose design on there. And now they fit perfectly under the overhang on top of the columns. I cut out pieces of foam board to fit on the sides of the table, and also a piece to go in the front here that's going to be the doors. And then I made some steps out of cardboard. I just folded the cardboard and then cut side pieces for it and taped it with the tape. I have the top here that I haven't taped yet because I need to pull the door out and make it before I tape it all together. I also glued some plastic sleeves inside each of these frames, and then I got these postcards that I'm putting inside them, and they will be references to, could be plays, poetry readings, ballets, music performances, all sorts of things. So I'm putting those in, and I'm going to be making some signs as well. Up top, I glued these birds on top of the columns and glued the columns onto the roof. If you saw my my preparation for the theater video almost a year ago now, I had some little soap angels in that I was going to use, but I can't find them. I don't know what I did with them. So I found these little birds that my mother had, and they're the perfect color, and I think they look nice. And then I've also glued this piece to the front, and it's being held down by a little coaster right now. And then I also added tape along the edges of this overhang. I drew some lines on this foam board. The lines are where you will see it, because this bottom part goes down inside that table, and then the top part will be, it goes up higher than the table, so that will be inside up there. And then so these would be the doors. And I have these containers. These are, I buy zucchini that comes in these, and I luckily had another package in the fridge, so I got that out, because I had gotten the one out before when I was looking for things that I could use. And so this paper board is nice. And then these little squares with circles in them are left over from the castle. And then these middle pieces that go at the tops of the egg cartons. And so then there's some foam triangles. And so I think this is a good start on a very pretty and decorative door for the theater. I painted these pieces with the almandine paint, and then painted some pieces gold and used some gold half pearl beads to put on them, and added more gold around the edges of things. So that's how these are looking. I had to put the piece of foam board into the table because the way the table is, this piece goes down inside it, and it was going to be harder to put it in there with everything attached to it. So these are the corner pieces that I painted gold, and I ended up not using the two white ones, but I cut two more black ones that I had so that they would all have a similar undertone. And then I painted around the edges where the doors are going to go, and I cut some of that tape in half and put it around the sides. And then I glued this in. This piece I couldn't put on before I put this inside the table because it would have knocked up against the top. So I glued it in after I put the big piece into the table, and it's got some gold paint on it and some gold half pearl beads glued in. And then once I put that big piece in, I put the top of the step in and added the tape to both the back and front of it to attach it to the steps. I've glued these parts in. These parts up at the top are hard to see from the outside, but once you get close, you can see them. I feel like it still needs more decoration, but I'm not sure what that is yet. So while I think about that, I will work on the side pieces. I have these two egg carton bottoms left, and they're both the same. And then I have another whole egg carton. So I've got lots of texture and design ideas to work with for the side pieces. And on this side piece, I have used E6000 to glue this rather heavy ceramic bas-relief picture onto it. I cut out the bottom of this egg carton, and that's what I'm going to use for my design on the wall. So here it is on the wall next to the door, and I painted with the almondine. I put some gold on, I put some half pearl beads on, I put some tape around the edges, and I used the brown wash to give it some depth. And so here's the other wall over here, the same way. And then the other side of this wall is peeking out of the table on this side. And I added tape and paint and wash to this side also, and used those little inserts from the egg cartons on the sides of the bas-relief. And I think that looks pretty cool. I had these little black plastic wall anchors, and I attached them to some buttons, and they fit perfectly around the little metal loop on the buttons. I used some E6000. I think these buttons will be perfect for doorknobs. And here they are, attached to the doors. So I'm pretty pleased with how this entrance has turned out. We'll see if it needs anything else while I look at it next week. But I think it's quite ornate and beautiful. So thank you for coming to see this week, and I will see you again next week with the grand opening. Bye-bye.